Writers and actors in Hollywood are facing eviction from their landlords after their strike has continued for months on end with no end in sight. Now they're begging for rental assistance. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's not exactly a landlord story, but I thought it was quite interesting because it does have to do with, rentals and evictions and et cetera, right? And it has to do with the writer's strike that's going on in Hollywood right now. A lot of people don't have a lot of sympathy for these writers and actors who are on strike because they can't you know, um, they just can't feel them. Okay, it just they don't feel like they are as needy as a lot of the other people in America, or that they're struggling as badly as a lot of other people in different professions across the country. So yeah, I mean, it is bad that they are facing eviction at this point, but remember, this is self-imposed. They decided to go on strike. They decided that they wanted more pay, more benefits, etc., and they are fighting a losing battle because the movie companies, the production companies, etc., are just going to wait them out until they are struggling so badly that they are unable to pay their bills and they are willing to make concessions. So yeah, I mean, I am, for the people who watch my channel and don't know, I'm pretty anti-union. Okay, I don't like unions at all because the people who want to work, they have to go on strike as well, whether they want to or not. And that is the bad thing. That is the bad thing because, simply put, I believe that a person should have the right to make the decision on their own whether they find the pay and the benefits to be enough for them and what they in their lifestyle or not. And if they are unable to do that, then and the union tells them whether, oh well, you have to be on strike, you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. Well, it really takes away a person's individual choice. Okay, now everybody doesn't agree with me. I'm pretty anti-union based on personal experience. I used to be a union member, and I saw myself working my butt off while we had several lazy people who did nothing, and they got paid the same or more than me in many cases. And because they had seniority over me, they got special selection for the special details that we do. They get preference for days off, etc. Right? So it gave you no motivation whatsoever to actually be a hard charger. In fact, it motivated people to work less because they knew they wouldn't lose their jobs. They could do the bare minimum and get paid the exact same whether they worked their butt off or they did the bare minimum. So yeah, unions, in my opinion, they especially now where the government has stepped in and they set up safety and environmental checks and balances for employees, right, and employers. I don't think the unions have much use. That's probably why the number of union jobs has greatly decreased. And so, the writers out there, imagine that, you're one of these, Hollywood writers who is writing for a TV show, and now you're facing eviction. You're facing your landlord kicking you out of your place because you haven't paid rent. And you want to go back to work. You want to go back to work so you can provide for your family, but the union is telling you, no, you can't. And you're like, listen, I'll take the pay that they offered. I'll take it. And they're telling, nope, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. So you could end up losing everything because someone else wants more. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous, and it's wrong. So yeah, I'm not in. I'm not one of those people who hates on these people striking. I don't hate on the individual workers. I'm hating on the union for making this happen in the first place. Okay, the people who wanted to strike, maybe they should have just gone on strike on their own and then allowed everyone else to work. I live in a right to work state, so you don't even have to be a union member here to work. You can be a part of the organization and never pay a penny in union dues and screw the union, screw them, just be like, hey, I'm going to work, I'm not going to deal with this garbage and all the nonsense that the union is forcing upon us. So anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from the HollywoodReporter.com, and it says, Record number of Hollywood workers facing evictions, seeking rent assistance amid strikes. Actors, writers, and crew members are being hit by both the work stoppage and an end to COVID tenant protections, as MPTF President Bob Beitcher says, we're talking to people who are living in their cars, in some cases with their families. I'll tell you what, I don't care what anybody says. I am not going to be living in my car. Okay, you're going on strike. I'm done. I'm going to go find a job in a different career field. If you tell me I can't work anymore, if the union, not the Hollywood studios themselves, the union is the one telling these people they can't work right now. So I just can't handle that kind of stuff. I'm gonna go find a job in a different career field. In fact, going into a personal kind of story, right? Let me tell you about how I became so anti-union. So I used to work for AT&T back in the 2007 2008 time, right? And as you know, there was a huge economic recession back then. So AT&T, the company that I worked for, came through and they said, "Hey, we're going to lay off 12,000 people at one time." Now, at the time, I was an extreme hard charger. Like, my performance was probably two or three times, I did two or three times the amount of work of the highest performing employees there. But when it came time for the layoffs, right, none of that even mattered. None of it mattered at all, because they based everything upon seniority as per the union contract. And so I was laid off. And meanwhile, some of my coworkers who didn't do half of the amount of work that I did, who didn't, work their butts off every day and, volunteer for all of the overtime and, just take on the hard jobs, etc., they got to keep their jobs. And, I was unemployed for 6 months. And after I became unemployed for 6 months, I just got bitter. I just got bitterer because I sat there and I was like, why in the world would they base all of this upon seniority alone? Seniority is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It takes away performance. It takes away, the motivation for people to perform hard. And instead, it just motivates you to just be there, just sit there for as long as possible until, you have seniority, and then you can just get away with anything. So yeah, I'm against unions, right? That's not the only reason, but that was a big reason right there. Anyway, I'm on a rant. Let's get into the article. 4 months into the writers' strike and almost 2 months into the actors, the fear of industry workers losing their apartments and homes due to the work stoppage has become an increasingly looming threat. In July, Deadline published a story with quotes from an anonymous studio exec saying the game plan was to let the strikes drag on until union members were losing their housing. And at a recent event, Entertainment Community Fund Chair Annette Benning confirmed that is indeed happening. David Bach, an actor who has been part of the Screen Actors Guild since 2015, with credits on Curb Your Enthusiasm in Silicon Valley, is among those who have received a grant from the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Emergency Assistance Program. For the last year, he's lived in a rent-controlled one-bedroom apartment in Larchmont, and before the strike was always able to entirely cover his rent and bills with the money he earned as a working actor. The strike has had a massive impact on my housing situation. I worked one day in May, and since then, all the work has stopped, Bach tells The Hollywood Reporter. I've almost depleted my entire savings, and I haven't been able to pay my rent the last few months. The building manager and property owners extended me a grace period due to the good social credit I had built up by doing some gardening and landscaping in our building's common area. However, in August, I received an eviction notice from the building's management company taped to my front door. And yeah, since they ended the eviction moratoriums down in Los Angeles and Los Angeles County, well, guess what? These landlords, they can't just let you stay there forever. And it's pretty bad when you're getting evicted from a rent-controlled apartment. That's pretty bad because your rents are so far below market that, it's not even funny. So my suggestion would be to move on. Okay, this career field, it's a tough career field to be in. I know that you might be an actor or a writer that, makes really, really good money. And when the strike ends, you may continue to make really, really good money. But for now, let's just pretend as though this isn't going to end, okay? And go off, get yourself a new job. Pay your bills. Don't let it come to the point where your family's living in a car. I'm not going to ever do that to my family. If I lose my current job, my current income, I will go out and I'll work 2, 3 jobs if necessary to make sure that my family has a roof over their head and that the bills are paid. It's just not worth it. I'm going to stick by my guns and stick by the union. And no, no, they've shown you exactly what they think of you. They're not going to save you. The only one who can save you is yourself. I don't like unions, and I've been in them before. I've dealt with too many union people who just have the attitude of just being lazy, and it's just frustrating. And not only being lazy, but squeezing every single dime out of the employer, and then creating this combative situation with your supervisors. And it's all pointless. It's pointless because it doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't accomplish anything, but it wastes time, and it really, really ends up hurting some people. And I was one of those people who got hurt. And that is part of the reason why I just don't support this thing. So anyway, yeah, these writers, actors, they're facing eviction. A part of the reason I ended up purchasing real estate, part of the reason I wanted to purchase real estate, why I wanted to start a business outside of my main job, was just in case. If I lose my job, guess what? My income doesn't disappear. I still have a ton of income coming from my rental properties, and I have YouTube revenue as well. So I still have income coming in even if I lost my job today. So that was my whole backup plan. I never wanted to be put into that same position again after I got laid off and I was unemployed for 6 months. I never wanted to be put into the position where the only thing I had was dependency upon the government and its unemployment check. So yeah, you guys out there, Hollywood, writer strike, hang in there. Um, but seriously, just consider, just getting rid of these unions.